Monday, October 16th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we have a really boring conversation, well, if you can call it a conversation, where we read about image file formats from Wikipedia because we didn't do research and we were lazy. So if you really care about image file formats, listen beyond the things of the day, but if not, yeah, get ready for some boring times. Let's do this.
Well, it's Monday, so obviously what I'm about to say is the thing I've said every Monday for the past couple months. We're back from somewhere.
And you know what? I was a little tired earlier. I'm not so tired right now.
Yeah, I got a little bit of an adrenaline rush from eating food and moving around, but I think I'm going to crash in a little bit.
Yeah, as soon as this show is over, I'm hitting some hay.
I almost fell asleep.
With a big mallet.
I almost fell asleep driving to work, and I almost fell asleep driving home from work, and I took an hour nap at work.
I don't even remember driving to and home from work. And on Monday, you know, I kind of like Monday at work because time just freaking flies. Like, whoosh.
Though, of course, we spent the weekend at the Northern Geek House, which is very similar to our Geek House, only it's in Albany.
And it's got a lot more crap in it.
Nah.
And it's, you know, newer.
Well, there's some stories from it that are all going to be saved for various geek fables.
Ah, good.
And, of course, I think tomorrow we're going to have to tell the tale of perhaps my favorite video game character ever, Scroats.
Ah, Scroats.
Scroats is a hero.
Yeah, what the hell? Who cares about freaking Mario? It's all about Scroats.
In fact, I gotta say, Scroats...
He needs to be in Smash Brothers.
I think Scroats is going to be the mascot of Geeknights.
That's not good.
Why not? I would wear a Scroats t-shirt.
Okay, you can wear the Scroats t-shirt.
Who would not wear a Scroats t-shirt?
Someone who wouldn't wear a Goatsy t-shirt.
It's nothing like Goatsy. It's just a cute little fighting thing from a PS2 game.
Yeah, called Scroats.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Names can be unfortunately ironic.
But it's not ironic because it is what you expect, not the opposite.
A cute, funny monster that fights by swinging its little tail around.
I thought you wanted to save the story of Scroats for tomorrow.
I'm not going to actually tell the story of Scroats.
All right.
I just, led up to it.
Uh-huh.
Create a bit of buzz.
I'm sure.
All right, fine. Then what do you got in the news?
Oh, the news. Well, McDonald's in Japan, they gave away MP3 players as prizes in a Coca-Cola promotion or something. And it was like this little tiny USB stick that you could also put headphones in and play MP3s, which is not, so bad. But apparently when you put this thing in your computer, it has 10 songs on it, which is cool. But it also has horrible trojan on it called QQ Pass.
Wait a minute. So McDonald's gave away an MP3 player that already had a virus on it.
Yeah, so you plug it in. If you take this USB stick that's also an MP3 player that has 10 songs on it already and plug it into any Windows computer, it gives that Windows computer the QQ Pass Trojan, which is intended to steal login data.
You know what? It's a great type of DRM there. I mean, if you try to get those songs off of this MP3 player, you get a virus. It punishes you.
No. I guess it is. It's wow, if you want to call it DRM. Because it doesn't actually stop you from sharing the music.
You know what? Neither does DRM.
Oh. No, but the point is that, in Windows, it's really hard to be secure from USB stick vector. The USB vector of virus and Trojan infection.
Well, considering that Windows will pretty much, if it sees a USB device, probe it, open it, and execute anything it sees.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Linux does the same thing, but only for users in certain groups and only in certain, you can actually easily secure a Linux system against USB devices. It's trivial to make a Linux system that won't even support any USB whatsoever. You just recompile the kernel without USB. There you go.
Well, furthermore, you really can't... Trojans don't work in Linux unless you're running as root, which you're not.
Yeah. But even in Windows, if you weren't running as root, this Trojan would still get you.
Oh, yeah, that's the way Windows is.
Yeah.
Because there's really no... You have to run as root in Windows or things don't work. Even in the newest version of Windows XP, run as another user doesn't work.
I wonder if they'll fix that shit in Vista.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah. It just reminds me of that time that the The company was a security consultant, and they were testing the company to see how secure their systems were.
What company?
I forget. It was a story. I was in news a long time ago.
When?
And they left USB sticks like lying outside the company.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about it on the show.
Like I just said.
Half the employees picked them up and
They just picked them up and stuck them in their computers.
Yeah, security has nothing to do with the PCs at this point. It just has to do with the users.
Yeah, but here's a case where, it's not even someone trying to hack. Maybe someone did try to put these on there. Who knows?
You can't get a Trojan by accident. Either someone at the place where they were making them was evil or got paid off, or someone was really stupid and left the system that was flashing all these things insecure.
I think that might make sense. Someone who was putting all the music on here.
And he had a compromised box.
Yeah.
And, of course, even then, it had to be set as auto-executable on the USB. So I'm pretty sure it was intentional by someone in the chain.
It could have been, but, if it is,
McDonald's,
it won't be hard to find out who it was.
McDonald's subcontracted that out.
Oh, definitely. Well, Coca-Cola maybe also. It was a team-up.
Yeah, they contracted out to somewhere in India probably, maybe China. And just people didn't care, and they weren't being paid much. I mean, I can tell you right now, the amount of care I put into work I do is directly proportional to how much money I'm paid to do it.
Well, anyone who wants to get a lot of credit card data, here's what you do. Give out free MP3 players that are also USB sticks. And
don't even give them out. Just leave them laying around in a Starbucks.
Even better.
Not even just flash drives. Just buy 32 megabyte flash drives and just leave them lying around with a funny, embarrassing sounding love letter on them and some random MP3s and a bunch of Trojans. It's foolproof. No one with a Windows computer can protect against that, except, not putting a USB device in your computer.
Yeah, and there isn't even a crazy news story going around on the normal news saying don't put random USB drives in your computer.
I think this...
Hell, we could probably leave like floppy disks and CDs lying around and people will do it.
Oh, yeah, that was a big thing back in the day. I used to leave floppy disks around my middle school that had various Trojans and viruses on them.
Awesome.
In addition to games.
Yeah.
In fact, I made a version of LHX, a special disk where you put it in and you start it up, right? And it'll act like it's installing LHX. But while that little status bar I made in the batch script is going along, it's also searching your computer for .doc files, .text files in certain directories based on where people would very likely have them, compressing them, copying them to the disk, overwriting the game files to make up more space as it puts the game files on the PC. Then making them hidden, and then they give the disk back to me.
Yeah.
I used it on a few people, and I got nothing interesting.
All
right. So, in the news a while ago, this French study, and I wanted to talk about it for a while. I just never really got the chance. Today I can finally bring it up. The study basically tried to correlate cognitive ability, intelligence, a form of intelligence, with obesity.
Well, it's really easy to measure obesity. I mean, you look at someone.
Well, not really, no. What they used is the BMI, which is not the best metric in the world. But here's the thing that bothers me. Every time BMI comes up on like FARC, FARC's the worst place, but Slashdot and Dig too. A whole bunch of really, really fat people will come in and say, BMI is crap. It breaks down if you're actually really, really strong, or you're actually super, super, super in shape, or you're really, 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 really old.
But these are really, really, really fat people, so what do you care if it's wrong? It's right for you,
well,
fatty.
No, the thing is, a lot of people say, oh, BMI is worthless. Therefore, even though it says I'm obese, I know that I'm healthy, when the truth is, most people, if you are above the line for obesity under BMI, you're probably obese.
Yeah, it's like, that measurement there, that measurement doesn't work on some other group of people that aren't me. Therefore, I don't get measured by it.
Well, the thing is, bodybuilders always say, yeah, BMI is crap too, but that's just, I don't know why they even care.
Yeah, why? If you're a bodybuilder, what do you care if a measurement for fat people isn't correct about you? You're not fat. You're a mad muscle man.
The other point is that BMI is not really useful for an individual. It's more of a statistical thing to track obesity and track trends, because while it'll pull in really, really fit people, they're the minority, and it's a very good metric for determining how obese a population is or correlating things.
But, all right, let's say that really, really in-shape people weren't the minority. Then what would we do?
We'd use other metrics. There are other metrics. BMI is just the simplest.
Uh-huh.
All it really is a ratio between height and weight.
And age? Isn't age in it?
No.
No?
It's really simple.
All right. There was another one with age, I thought.
There are hundreds of them, Scott.
Anyway.
Now, the study here just had they did a bunch of study. I think they studied 2,000, 3,000 people, and they gave them tests, and then they followed up, I think, 5 years later. I don't have the article in front of me, but I read it last week. And they found a fairly significant, though not directly applicable, correlation between lack of intelligence and obesity.
Huh.
Now,
Gee, I could have told you that.
That alone wouldn't have really been news because, all right, one study where it found a slight correlation, but apparently there have been a whole bunch of studies, and all of them point to the fact that either people who are obese are made less intelligent by it, or people who are less intelligent are more likely to become obese. Or there might be a third confounding factor.
Yeah, it's tough to say, but you look around, and it seems like you think about it and you go, yeah, all the stupid people seem to be fat. It's like you see a stupid guy, usually also a fat guy. But at the same time, some smart people seem to be fat too. So I don't know if it's if the fat actually causes the stupid. I think it might be more the stupid is the fat.
I'm pretty sure stupid causes fat because the things that cause fat are pretty much just ignorance, stupid, or lazy.
Yeah.
Those three will cause fat, or the very rare medical condition.
It seems like fat it invades all groups, from the dumbest to the smartest. It's just that the dumber you are, the more likely you are to be fat. Like, I'd say, just shooting numbers, like, of stupid people, like 80% are also fat, and of smart people, maybe like 40%.
Of course, relatedly, there's been a lot of talk lately about how this whole obesity thing is overrated and we shouldn't worry about it because a lot of people are just a little overweight and that won't hurt them. But there was a study that I just listened to on BBC News where they basically found a correlation that, now this is a very specific study. It was women who got pregnant and then at some point in the future got pregnant again, and they followed them for a while. And now they're not counting weight gain by pregnancy itself, but a weight gain of as little as 7 pounds between two pregnancies greatly enhances your chances of getting diabetes and all sorts of other diseases.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 pounds.
Only in between pregnancies, though.
Well, that was just the study. They were testing a bunch of other things, and then they found this very clear correlation between small weight gain and massive chances of disease later on.
Wow, but only between pregnancies. So, like, doesn't have anything to do with men or women with just one pregnancy, or it's kind of.
It was one study. They found this correlation. That's all I said.
Wow, I'm just wondering, like, about the in between pregnancy part of it. It's kind of weird.
Well, they were testing a lot of things about lifestyle changes between pregnancies, or does pregnancy have an effect on the body, things like that.
Tricky stuff.
Science.
Yeah. No, but it's the thing is, if people want to say, oh, it's okay to be fat, blah, 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 I'm like, all right, fine. You can all be fat, but you don't get health care.
Well, no, they should be able to pay for their own health care.
Yeah, and they should charge them out the ass, and they should be allowed to charge them out the ass, and it shouldn't be against the law to discriminate against fat people in situations where...
It's not.
Well, it is sometimes.
No, it isn't.
They always complain and make a big deal.
No, it is not illegal. It is only illegal to discriminate for certain things, like housing, employment. There's a few things. It varies a little bit state by state in the United States. You cannot discriminate based on age, race, gender. Pretty much anything else is open game, including sexual orientation, because of the way the laws are stupidly written. Yeah, that's not cool.
But, I mean, there needs to be a lot more obesity discrimination, I think. There isn't enough.
You know what? There's a lot at Cedar Point.
There is.
Because the thing is, no matter how much they argue, I remember I saw this firsthand. We were in line for the Raptor at Cedar Point, and this really, really, really fat woman gets up there with her kid, and they won't let her on, and she's screaming like, "You can't discriminate against me. This is discriminatory." And she wasn't using the word discriminatory because I don't think that word was in her vocabulary. But she was saying slightly less...
Yet another example of stupid fat correlation.
Slightly less syllabic words. And finally... Yeah, that was... Anyway, the Cedar Point employee walks over, and he says, "All right, you can ride." And she's, huff, puff. And she tries to squeeze herself into the little seat and pull the thing down, and she can't. And no one said anything. The Cedar Point guy just stood there and watched her. And she's trying and pulling it down, and it won't go. And she asks for help, and he pulls it up, and then he says, wow, you just don't fit. I can't close the latch. If I run the roller coaster, you'll fall out and die. I'm sorry, but you can't ride. And she looked so angry, but she didn't say a word because there was nothing she could say, and she dragged her son out of the park. I just feel bad for the kid because he wasn't fat and he didn't get to ride a roller coaster.
Oh, poor kid. They really should just take the kid away from a parent like that, just to let him ride the roller coasters.
There's a chance it was his grandma or an aunt or something.
I'm not saying that. I'm just,
Yeah.
They should, to get the kid to roll the roller coaster. You shouldn't be allowed to, that's child abuse, taking a kid out of an amusement park like that without riding any rides.
Things of the day.
Man, I changed my thing of the day up at the last second.
Yeah, because you found something mildly amusing.
Well, the thing before was not amusing at all.
What was the thing before?
It was a DS Flash cart homebrew.
Oh yeah, we could just do an episode on DS homebrew.
As soon as I get one of these things, I'm gonna, because it's a really crazy world. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I want Scroats to be my thing of the day, but I don't have a picture of him.
Oh, too bad. Too bad.
Yeah.
You and your obsession with Scroats.
Me?
You know how obsessed Rim is with Scroats.
I would just like to point out, and I have a lot of people to back me up, that when Scroats was finally unveiled, after the final important bit was added to Scroats, the first person in the room to react was Scott, who said the words, "Ah, yeah."
Ah, yeah.
If anyone is a fan of Scroats, it's my friend Scott here.
Well, let me tell you, I did not obsess about Scroats long after his demise, like you.
I'm sure you're saving that for tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, so my new thing of the day is a crazy Japanese TV show. OMG.
Huh?
Who knows what's going on with this crazy Japanese TV shows?
Yeah, like they'll bring a girl on and they'll strap some meat to her head and stick it in a cage with an iguana or something.
That was only the one famous Morning Musume show.
Yeah, but I have a feeling
But it's somehow become the stereotype of Japanese television.
The thing is, when I saw that the first time, all I could think, I've seen crazier Japanese stuff than this.
Yeah. For me, the stereotype of Japanese television is...
Takeshi's Castle?
No. It's Tokyo Breakfast or whatever.
Oh.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Tokyo Breakfast. The thing we almost got kicked out of the anime club for.
Yep. That's search for Tokyo Breakfast. But anyway.
We'll make that a thing of the day.
Yeah. Today's thing of the day, a classic thing of the day. Today's thing of the day is a guy flying a helicopter. A real helicopter. The kind that they use to check on traffic and weather and all that crap. But this helicopter has a camera and a bottle opener attached to one of the, what are the little things called that it lands on? The landing bit? The ski? To the front of one of the skis.
The technical term is landing bit.
Yeah. I don't know what the parts of a helicopter are. Do you know?
You can't name 10 helicopter parts.
Rotor, cockpit,
I'm waiting.
Rear wingeling.
Yeah, rear wingeling.
Rear wingeling.
Front wingeling.
There's a fan in the rear wingeling.
Spinning bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Steering bit.
So on the front right ski, at the front of the front right ski, someone's going to yell at us who knows about helicopters.
Watch. Finally, we'll talk about something none of our listeners know about.
We don't know about helicopters.
I know a little bit. I know the how to pilot one, but let me qualify that. I know how to pilot one.
Wow,
I do not have the ability to pilot one.
I just realized I know less about helicopters than I thought. Maybe we should buy the $30 remote control Pico Z remote control helicopter.
That's going to end with one of us losing an eye.
I think I'm going to get it now, just so I can learn about helicopters.
We'll buy them tomorrow. We're going to Radio Shack anyway.
Okay, cool. So, on the front right ski
I'll
at
warn
the front...
you all, I got to warn you all now. Scott and I are buying remote-controlled helicopters. There might not be a show tomorrow because we might be dead.
Anyway, on the front of the right ski, he's got a camera and a bottle opener. And they've got these two platforms, and on each platform are like 6 or 7 bottles of beer. And he flies a real helicopter and opens up all these bottles of beer.
It's quite impressive.
Like, wow, he's controlling a large device, a large piece of flying equipment with the precision of
Furthermore,
not a scalpel of a surgeon, but
no, you know what would be more
maybe
impressive?
the hammer of a carpenter.
If there was a scalpel stuck to the end of that thing.
And he did a surgery.
And he did a surgery.
He removed an appendix.
See, the thing
No,
is...
you do attach a Wiimote to the helicopter, right? And then he plays Duck Hunt or Trauma Center with it.
Back when I was growing up, I knew a couple of helicopter pilots. And then in high school, my stepdad got a remote-controlled helicopter from my mom as a gift, and he was learning how to fly it. Helicopters are freaking hard to fly.
Yeah.
So this is especially amazing. Don't think that helicopters are easy, because they're not.
Yeah, airplanes are easy.
Yeah, airplanes are really easy.
Unless you have to fly by instruments. That's what most airplane training is.
Honestly, you know the first time I actually flew a plane, I was really short because I was a kid. So I'm up there and I'm flying, and after about 20 minutes, the guy who was teaching me turns and says, "You can't see out the front window, can you?" And I said, "Nope, I'm short. I'm a kid." I didn't actually say that, but I said something to that effect.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really that hard to fly by instruments. You know, you got the one that shows how much the plane is tilting this way and that way, and the other one. We don't know anything about planes either. But, you know, it's when you can't see anything and you try to look out the window and it's just gray. That's when there could be trouble. From what I understand from listening. Because apparently a lot of the big-time podcasters are pilots. They all like to fly.
Well, I was taking flying lessons when I was young. The problem was it cost a lot of money.
And we are poor. Well, we're not poor, but we're not that rich.
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't do Geek Nights... Well, we don't have time. If we didn't do Geek Nights, we could take flying lessons.
I guess, but we couldn't afford them.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'd
we
have to
could.
give something up.
Yeah, give up podcasting.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have a thing today?
Why, I do indeed, and it's very much related to science and technology.
Huh.
See, I worked at IBM for many years, and one of the areas I had to manage and deal with was a raised floor room, which is, you'll have servers, right? And they'll be in big racks, and the floor is a fake floor, and it's these tiles.
Well, it's not a fake floor. I mean, you could stand on it.
Yeah, okay. It is a floor, but there is another floor under
It's
it.
a trick floor. It's not really there. You step into the room and you fall down and kill yourself.
It's comprised of basically 2 foot by 2 foot tiles, and you have a little suction thing you can use to pull them up, and you put all the wires between all the computers and the networking stuff under there. Also, you'll usually have big refrigerator things, or the HVAC will just be plugged into it, and that will force cold air under there, and then the high pressure will force the cold air through holes in these tiles into the racks to cool down the servers. That is how big data centers work. If you have data somewhere, and it's real data, and you're paying a lot of money for it, it's probably in a raised floor. Most raised floors have drains in this underfloor area for such eventualities as floods. The data center you were about to see in my thing of the day did not.
Oh.
Water got in through a pipe that wasn't sealed properly, and it's kind of like Venice, only with a lot of people crying.
I'm trying to find out what the parts of a helicopter are on Wikipedia, and I'm not succeeding.
Well, you know what? That's fine, because it's time for the main bit.
Good. All right. So today we are going to talk to you about image file codec compression formats.
That was a really lame opener.
Okay.
Let's try that again. So in continuing our series on codecs, we're going to talk about images. Was that better?
I guess.
I
We're going
like
to
it.
talk about all the different image file formats which are used. Raster image file formats,
Yeah,
not vector image file formats.
Now, the reason we're starting with images, even though you probably don't care and it doesn't matter to anyone anymore, it's very simple and easy to go into a lot of detail, and all of the concepts we'll talk about today are pretty much the same when it comes to audio and video.
Yeah, and before you listen to this episode, you should probably listen to part 1, which was last Monday, where we talk about, compression and digital compression.
Well, we
in
talk about
general.
codecs
Yeah.
and lossy and lossless and all that.
Yeah, we're not going to re-explain lossy and lossless and other things like that. You can forget that.
So for all you young kids out there, the internet, the World Wide Web specifically, used to not have pictures.
Used to be text, hypertext.
And nothing more. Maybe there was some ASCII art, but there weren't many pictures.
Computers used to not have pictures. It used to just be, an Apple II, which would have green text. And if you wanted, you could, turn some pixels on and off to try to draw something. But that was it. It wasn't until like the Macintosh computer that you could really have a picture.
And then even then, in the early days of the internet, I mean, nowadays it's just, people use JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, but there really weren't a lot of useful, widely available formats or image editing programs.
When I got my 486, it had OS2, and it came with this picture of a parrot that I guess in those days, I remember it looking really good because it was one of those multicolored parrots. And it was this bitmap of a parrot, and it took up a lot of hard drive space, and it was just there, to show off the computer. Like, look at this computer. Look how cool a picture of a parrot it can show you. And it was just a bitmap of a parrot. And the only real image formats then were bitmap, and that was it.
Yep, you might remember it as .bmp. Now, bitmap is very self-descriptive. Bitmap, right? What do you think it is? It's a map of bits. It's just a grid of bits, of pixels that it tells you what color the pixel is.
Yeah, let's say you have 3 colors, right? Then you just start, you have 100 pixel picture. It's just 100 numbers. Some of them will be 1, some of them will be 2, and some of them will be 3. And you just start drawing in the bottom left, you go right, then you go back up, you go up 1 and all the way to the left like a typewriter, and then all the way to the right again, drawing, red, green, blue, 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 red, red, depending on what the numbers are. A bitmap works that way, only it can have a lot more than 3 colors.
Well, there are different ways to have a bitmap. It's more a generic concept.
Yes, but in terms of the actual bitmap file format, the Microsoft Windows bitmap, it can have anywhere between 1 bit, which is black and white, all the way up to 24-bit color. It can't really have alpha channel, which is 32-bit color is where you can do transparency. But there is a version with transparency that no one uses, except for like the Windows startup screen. That's where you're going to see that.
Now you might think, hey, that would be fine. Why bother using anything else? It describes an image. Theoretically, it could describe any image, and in order to make the image more good or more precise or more accurate, just increase the number of bits.
It gets real big, real fast.
Large bitmaps that aren't compressed are very large, and bitmaps really aren't compressed. So you can't say you have a bitmap that is 1,000,000 pixels by 1,000,000 pixels, and it's red. The whole thing is red. There's nothing but red pixels. By default, you can't take advantage of the fact that it's really simple to say what color all the pixels are. So in the end, the file ends up saying pixel 1 is red, pixel 2 is red, pixel 3 is red, until the 1,000,000 times 1,000,000th pixel.
Yep. If you want to see how big a bitmap can be, do some math. Take a 24 bits, which is 3 bytes, and then an 800 by 600 image, which is 24,000 or 240,000. 240,000 or 24,000. I'm not sure. I'm not doing it right now.
Captain Math.
Captain Math for the win. But, times 3 bytes. That's a lot of bytes. That's like 60,000. That's a lot of bytes.
Let's just not use examples with numbers, Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, so why do we have CODECS? Same reason as with anything else, to make things smaller.
Yeah, there's a reason that, only MS Paint really uses bitmap and nothing else. All right, so what did they come up with next? They came up with the TIFF. TIFF. The TIFF is the tagged image file format, and it's actually a lot more like a bitmap than you think. What they were trying to do is they wanted to make a format of image file for scanning. They're like, anyone who would scan anything in would get a TIFF. That way all the scanners would work together. The thing is, everyone decided to do something different with TIFF. As the name implies, it's the tagged image file format. A TIFF can actually contain a whole bunch of different pictures and tags that specify all sorts of different things. And different people would make up new tags to do different things in the image file. But in the end, they decided, okay, this guy's using that tag, and this software only supports these tags, and that guy's ignoring that tag over there. These are the only tags we're going to use, and no other ones. So TIFF doesn't do a lot of the amazing things it could do, but it still does some pretty cool stuff. In general, TIFF is actually non-compressed. They're still really big. But if you want, you can apply what is known as the LZW lossless data compression.
Now, I mean, there are compression methods for bitmap, too. Don't get us wrong.
There are, but no one really uses them so much.
Well, LZW is fairly widely used in a widely well-known way to compress data.
Yeah. LZW compression is the thing that made the GIF patent. And, I don't know, are we going to explain how LZW works?
You want to?
We could. It's a little complicated.
You know what?
In a computer science way.
It compresses things in a way that can now be done better.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it makes it any data you have, no matter what the data is, you can use LZW to turn it into less data without losing any information. And LZW is a specific way of doing it with a table and matching things, and it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, the way most lossless compression formats work is that they will figure out a pattern that is commonly occurring or a thing that commonly occurs and come up with a shorter way of expressing that. A simple one I could come with right now. I'll make up a compression scheme. Say you look at an image, a bitmap, and anytime multiple pixels or anytime a whole line is the same color, you have a special number, and if you put that number as a pixel, it says the whole line that this pixel is in is one color and skip to the next line. And then the decoder that's reading this bitmap sees that bit and goes, oh, I know what to do when I see that bit. Well, that byte.
Yep. All right, so that's what TIFF is. It's basically, it's lossless, and it's fancy bitmaps, and they're usually also used for like printing and scanning and all that sort of jazz. All right.
Here's the stuff you care about because this is what is on most of the internet. GIFs and JPEGs.
The GIF. Well, we'll talk about the GIF, the PNG, and then the JPEG because the PNG is a lot more similar to the GIF.
Yeah, but the PNG is not widely used.
No, the PNG is not as widely used as it should be, but it is used very relatively more widely now than before. Anyway, the GIF, which is technically the correct pronunciation of GIF, is GIF.
However, that is according to the zealots who decided that sort of thing.
And the guy who made up the image file format.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into the argument.
Not getting into the argument, but in my opinion, GIF is the name of a brand of peanut butter. Therefore, GIF, graphics, not graphics. If it was graphics interchange format, it would be GIF. But it's graphics interchange format. Therefore, it is GIF.
Because it's not a word, it's an acronym.
That's right.
Furthermore, the vast majority of people in the world say GIF. Very few people say GIF. There have been numerous surveys to this effect.
Anyway, what a GIF is it's just like the other image file formats. It's sort of a bitmap, but it saves space in a few ways. It doesn't actually... it's not a lossy compression. It is lossless compression. GIF does not lose data. Whatever the GIF is what the GIF is. You're not, if you turn something into a GIF, you don't lose anything. But there's some limitations. GIF can use any, there are 24-bit color, which is 16.7 million possible colors you can use. But in any one GIF file, you can only use 256 colors. So if I were to say draw, I don't know, I take a picture of a flower, right? And there were 257 shades of green in the leaf of the flower. One of them has to go. That's not compression. That's just a limitation of GIF saying you cannot use more than 256 colors in one GIF picture.
Now, what a lot of people would do is effectively compress an image themselves. Like, say I have an image that I want to make a GIF out of. You can run various algorithms that will take an image that has more colors, figure out a way to express the image in less colors. Now, it's lossy because you lose information in the picture, but then you can save it as a GIF, which itself is lossless. It makes a perfect copy of the lossy thing that you just made.
Exactly. So it's like the GIF format itself is not lossy, but it can't hold a lot, so you have to cut stuff off of whatever you're working with if you want to stuff it into a GIF. Now, the other thing GIF does is it implies the LZW that we just talked about to make it even smaller. So, that was the problem with the whole patent dispute that was going on. Remember how there was a news a little while ago about how all the GIF patents finally expired and now no one cares anymore? That was a patent on something in the LZW by the Unisys company, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, don't worry about it. No one cares. It's gone forever.
Yep. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Use GIFs all you want.
Now JPEG.
Well, Ping.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about Ping?
Just a little bit.
It's all you.
Ping came about because of the patents on GIF. All the open source people, well, a bunch of them, didn't want to use GIF because of those patents that, wouldn't go away. So they made Ping, which is portable network graphics. And a lot of people say PNG because they don't want you to think that they're talking about the program that goes ping, ping.
But most people say Ping.
Most people say Ping. And it's also lossless, just like GIF, only it can hold any number of colors. Any number of colors. It can also do what is known as alpha transparency, which is 32-bit color. See, normally, when you want to show true color, or what is known as true color, is 24-bit color. 2 bytes for red, 2 bytes for blue, and 2 bytes for green. 32-bit color has 2 bytes for the alpha channel, which is the amount of transparency. See, in a GIF, you can do transparency, but all you can say is this pixel is transparent or it's not.
So basically what you usually do is just make the background of your GIF the transparent color, and now you have a GIF that'll fit in with something.
Yes, but for a Ping file, since you actually have 32-bit actual alpha, blending going on, you can make some pixels more or less transparent than others, which is really, really cool and useful. However, Internet Explorer doesn't support this as it should. So it's not as useful as it could be. There was actually a problem, like in Internet Explorer 6 and lower, if you tried to use a transparent Ping, it would just, all the transparent parts would be gray and it would suck. In Internet Explorer 7, it works better, but still not correctly. And it really just kind of sucks. Because it would be cool if it worked and a lot more people would use Ping. Because it is technologically superior to GIF. But, hey, what you gonna do?
A lot of things are technologically superior to other things. That doesn't mean much.
I know. It's sort of like, yeah, Blu-ray is technologically superior. So is the PS3. Doesn't mean people are going to use it.
So outside of pretty much 4chan at this point, the gold standard of images on the internet is, of course, JPEG.
Yes, JPEG is actually useful for photos because it can have lots of colors. However, it is lossy. Dun-dun-dun.
Now, lossy is a misnomer. Not really a misnomer, but a lot of people don't understand it. They hear lossy, and it freaks them out. We talked about this last week, but generally, lossy compression formats, one, can't be applied to data because then you lose the data and the file's useless.
Yeah, I mean, let me lossy compress my executable for my game. Oh, the game doesn't work because I lost part of it. Oops. That was a good job there.
Yeah, but what it'll usually do is you try to remove data that doesn't matter, that you couldn't see. Mm-hmm. So like in an MP3 file, it removes the sounds that no human ear could hear anyway, or sounds that would be covered up by other sounds. In an image, it gets rid of fine details that you would never see unless you zoomed in.
Yeah, if you zoom in on a JPEG, it is pretty freaking horrendous, let me tell you. But if you look at it just at normal zoom level, looks pretty good.
Yeah, the method that JPEG uses is kind of complicated, but the best way I can describe it without going into details, that imagine you've got an image and you try to come up with like equations or things that can represent the image with less data required. And at the same time, you modify the image slightly to better fit these equations you've come up with.
Yeah.
You do a little mix of both, and then you come up with something that you need very little information, but yet it'll describe a very big thing.
Yeah, so let me try. I'm going to give you, this isn't actually how it works exactly, but let's say you've got a picture of a tree, right? And the tree has brown bark. So if you zoom in on the picture of the tree, each pixel is going to be like a slightly different shade of brown. Well, let's say you take a whole bunch of you take a big piece of the tree there, and you average, some of the, nearby shades of brown together and pick one shade of brown and apply that to the whole area. So you're kind of cutting the resolution a bit, and getting rid of some of the colors. But you change, different blocks next to each other so that in the end, when you zoom out, it looks mostly the same, even though you've, removed a lot of little dots of different shades and replaced them with, slightly bigger blocks of similar shades.
Now, we talked way before about, container formats or a format that isn't itself a thing. And JPEG's kind of the same way. The method JPEG uses to do all this isn't actually JPEG. It's called, what, like JFIF?
I'm not sure. It's all crazy.
Yeah, you know what the thing is? We'll talk about that a lot more when it comes to video because it matters a lot more.
Yeah, container formats don't really matter. I mean,
well, for images, it doesn't matter at all. No, I mean, JPEGs just work, and there are different ways to make JPEGs, different kinds of JPEGs, but the truth is they all work. You don't have to worry about it pretty much ever unless you're, in an industry where it matters, and then you'll already know.
The thing is that JPEG doesn't support, the transparency and stuff that GIF does. And that's why they still use GIFs on the internet, because for a photograph, a GIF is awesome. Because in a photograph, you've got way too much data that no one could possibly handle, and you've got a whole mess of colors. And the colors aren't always in stark contrast. They're usually really close to each other. So a JPEG can save you a lot of space while having it still look good. But for, say, images to make up the design of your web page are usually lots of solid colors and different colors and straight lines. And
I wasn't really listening to you because I'm poking around here on my desk, but I think you said GIF and then JPEG.
Did I?
I think. I'm not going to stop recording and look back.
JPEG is for photos and GIF is for web page design and whatever.
Of course, GIF has had a huge resurgence because GIF has one thing that JPEG doesn't have. You can make animated GIFs.
That's right. The one advantage of GIF is that you can animate it. And there is some types of animated pings, but no one uses them and nothing supports them.
And if you want animated JPEG, that's called MPEG.
Yeah.
Basically. We'll get into that in the video days.
We will get into that in the video days. But yeah, there is one new thing called JPEG 2000, which is a new kind of JPEG they came out with in 2000.
It uses wavelets. If you want to sound smart, just say, wavelet-based compression.
Yeah, it's really fancy. Like, you can look at pictures all over the internet, and technically, on paper, JPEG 2000 is the hot shit. Like, if we actually use this, pictures on the internet would look way better. The thing is, no one really supports it, and no one uses it. So it's just sitting around waiting to be used. If you want to experiment with it, you can, but you're on your own.
I guess the moral, we could have skipped this episode. Here's the moral. Image formats and images on computers are actually kind of complex, and there's a lot of different formats. There's a lot of things we didn't even talk about. Like, Photoshop has its own internal proprietary format.
Yeah, it has PSDs, GIF, the GIMP has one. What do they call those? I forget.
Yeah, but
XPMs.
And there's all these different types, and there's container formats, and some things are used some way and some are used the other ways. Sometimes files have the same extension, but they're actually different inside. The thing is, because images are really mature technology, they've been around a long time, and the industry has converged, they all just work, and you don't have to worry about it for the most part. Mm-hmm. We're not there yet when it comes to video. We're almost there when it comes to audio. So a lot of people now are running into a lot of trouble with video because new codecs come out all the time and things are changing a lot. And I guess someday video might be the way images are. But there's also the problem that codecs for video are coming out a lot more frequently than image things did because a lot of us stopped caring about images getting better or more compressed.
Yeah, that's why if people actually still cared about images, JPEG 2000 would be used a lot more, I think.
See, it's kind of the problem of once things are good enough for the 85th percentile of people, there's not enough pressure to ever go better than that. That's part of the reason why I think HDTV is going to do so poorly.
Yeah. People are pretty satisfied with their regular old TVs. Hell, people are satisfied with, if they get a 720p going on, they're excited.
Well, the video store near us has a lot of VHSs.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
VHS is still around. DVD is universal. Blu-ray and HD DVD aren't selling at all because, they're better. They're clearly better. I'll say right now that they're better technology than DVD in many ways, just like JPEG 2000 is better than JPEG. But no one cares. It's not better enough to change. Video codecs, every one that comes out is better enough, and people all jump ship.
Yep. But I think the other thing that's important to understand is, the major image file formats, BMP, TIFF, GIF, PNG, and JPEG. You have to understand how each of those is used and how they, represent images in data and how if they, decrease or the amount of data that is stored, in order to represent the same image. How they do that, so you know which format is right for your purpose and the particular image you are handling. And whether you want to, maybe you have a picture you took and you don't want to lose any resolution. Well, you might want to save it as a bitmap and not put it in a JPEG and lose a bunch of your resolution.
Well, I mean, what most people do, and I do this with audio too, like I do Geeknights, and I save the original edited file that was all waves as a FLAC, which is a lossless thing, and I have this FLAC archive. And then the ones I give to people or put online, I compress lossily with MP3, but I keep my master lossless around in case I want to do something someday.
Yep, it's important to understand the uses of these different formats and how they work if you plan on doing anything with images on computers, or else you're going to have some troubles along the way.
Now, if you found that boring at all, that's probably because we stretched it into a longer episode than we otherwise would have had.
We sure did. The other thing is we know a lot more about video and audio than we know about images.
Partly because images stopped being an issue in the 90s.
Yeah, so I stopped paying attention. I stopped learning about them because it was just sort of this obvious duh kind of thing.
I mean, I remember reading about JPEG and using JPEG, and I was amazed by it, and now I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, now it's like back in the days that when I was trying to make web pages with GeoCities, I would have to pay attention to how big my GIFs were and make them smaller because they wouldn't fit in my 2 megabytes of space.
I'd sit there for 5 minutes saving a picture and all these different levels of JPEG compression until it was just good enough to get the smallest picture I could.
Trying to upload my 500K JPEG up there. I'd be like, holy crap, I'm wasting a quarter of my space just so I can have one photo on the page.
Yet now I upload 50 megabyte MP3 files and don't even blink.
Yeah, so it's just something that people stop caring about, but is still important to know. I mean, I don't even pay attention anymore. Like, hey, are they using GIFs? Are they using JPEGs? I don't know, but it used to be an image. It used to be important. It used to be an issue. It's just not an issue anymore.
Yeah, it also doesn't help that we're absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, we kind of are.
Whatever. I think this episode was boring as shit.
Yeah, it wasn't exciting as it could have been.
So I guess what do you guys want on Mondays? Informative or funny? Because I'm fine with just skipping this whole codec business.
I don't know. I still think we should... the audio and the video, I think we have better stuff to say.
I don't have anything interesting to say about the audio. I could either talk in... because I actually know a lot about the audio. I could talk in stupid mathematical detail about MP3s, or I can just not talk about it. There's really nothing... I don't think any of you will be interested in it. I mean, are you? Do you want to know a lot about how MP3 works?
I think people are. They seem to be interested before.
I don't know.
The other thing is I don't want to think of something else to talk about on Monday.
We'll just tell geeky stories or something about computers.
About geeky story where I think...
I just think, and I want to hear what our listeners think, that today's episode was incredibly boring and not at all entertaining. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, but I don't think it's because... It's about CODECS. I think it's about, just the image ones in particular.
No, because I don't think we'll be any better with audio or video.
I think we will.
I definitely won't be with video. It'll just be informative.
Yeah, but that's something people really want to know about the video. That's what they all have problems with.
Yeah, except whenever people ask you for help with CODECS, you just say, you're stupid, and you don't actually help them.
That's because the answer is it's going to be a problem unless you use Linux or something.
Then our episode's going to be useless.
Well, I'm not going to tell them how to get CODECS.
That's the only thing people want to know. You realize that most people couldn't give a shit what any codec out there is. They only care about how come the MKV file I have won't play. How come the subtitles won't play? How come the audio won't play?
But this isn't a show for most people. This is Monday. This is Geek Nights. This is science and technology. We're going to teach you about science and technology.
No.
And the stuff that nerds and geeks care about.
Yeah, except I don't think people want to hear us be informative about stuff like that.
So do you want to not have Monday?
No, I'm saying I don't think, because I don't know. I want to hear what our listeners have to say.
Yeah.
Monday is fine, but being dry and informative, and not even that informative about a topic that's really boring.
Well, this is images. I think is pretty boring because we didn't know. I think if we knew more,
then why do we even do it? This is all you.
Because we had to do. No,
it didn't.
It was the trifecta of images.
The whole episode, all I was trying to do was rationalize the fact that we were doing this boring ass episode.
Well, I think also part of the episode was that you weren't paying attention. You were IMing people
because I had nothing to say. I didn't read anything. I was working all day. I don't care about these formats at all.
So you're like, oh, this episode is boring because I didn't put any effort into it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even if it was informative, if I was listening to it because I really didn't know, I wouldn't have cared. It's the kind of podcast I would have turned off.
maybe if you would have put. You're complaining about an episode that you didn't put any effort into or contribute anything to.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I didn't do anything for this episode, therefore it sucks.
Nah, because if I contributed more, it would have been just as boring.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Because we would have said the same stuff, just I would have said half of it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Tell us what you think about this episode and if you want us to keep going with this codec thing that I think is kind of boring.
We need Monday ideas, and I think that when we talk about audio and video, it won't be as boring.
Only if we talk about how to get the codecs and install them.
You go and download them and install them.
From where?
From any number of websites.
No, people don't know. You know how many people have trouble playing MKV files?
I don't know what their problem is.
Yeah, but Scott, the thing is...
Don't use Windows Media Player. Don't use QuickTime Player. Don't use Real Player. Use VLC or MPlayer. There you go. The end.
Okay.
Anyway,
just tell us what you think. I'm curious.
we need lots of Monday and Thursday ideas. We don't need Tuesday and Wednesday ideas. That seems to be all anyone can provide us. Monday ideas.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.